God damn it. It looks like it's raining again. A perfect day for reading, if you ask me. There's nothing better on a day like this than to sit down in bed with a good cup of coffee and a nice old book to read. Unfortunately, I don't read books because I ain't a fucking nerd, but I do see the appeal on why book reading is fun. Escaping from reality for a bit has brought me so much joy over the years. Casting your troubles away for just a brief moment so you can focus on enjoying what you love is something I encourage everyone trying. Of course you can't ignore your responsibilities as an adult, like dishwashing or vacuuming or laying down for a couple of hours regretting your life choices. But even if you're spending a couple of hours just doing your own thing, it makes a difference to your mindset. Video games, movies, your favorite TV show online, professional wrestling, and even books have one thing in common. They all tell a story in their own unique way so you, the consumer, can get hooked onto it. Because at the end of the day, we crave for entertainment. And video games is something I've preached for the longest time. Depending on the right genre of a video game, you can find a lot of excitement and can even improve your brain power like Lumosity for example, and yes, they do count as games. Like I said, I'm not much of a book reader, but as a child, I was heavily into manuals that came with the game case itself. So I thought in today's video we'll be going back in time and checking out some of the manuals I grew up with from my early days as a kid to the cringy emo teenager times and even to this very day. It is pretty much a story of my life basically, which is something I don't do often, so I hope you enjoy it while it's here. Starting in our humble beginnings, we kick things off with my very first video game I ever played, and some of you may already know the answer already. That's right, 20's game time for the PlayStation 1. Just joking, it's actually Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. And for the first introduction to video games, I couldn't ask for anything better. And while checking out the game itself, I also had time to look at the manual as well. And damn, this manual is thick. Reading this for the first time made me feel like I was on an adventure, and the book certainly made me feel that way too. It gives you some crucial information about how the game is played and what items to look out for and avoid. It gives you some character bios, some hints on how to beat enemies, and tells you the story of the game too. Because back in the day with video games, especially with the NES, NES, and some PlayStation 1 games, the story was mostly being told within the manual itself. And in case you're wondering why this manual is pretty big in length, is because it also has multiple languages. It doesn't have to be included, but the fact they added it in just for the sake of convenience is honestly really cool. And it gives me another reason to say why Naughty Dog is one of my favorite video game developers of all time, because they always have attention to detail in most of their games. But the story of my hobby for manuals doesn't end there. I was always happy when my parents got me a new video game to play just so I can see what kind of manual I'll be witnessing next. Like Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Did we mention that you should really read the whole manual? This book is basically encouraging me to sit down and read the whole thing. It's like it's speaking to me. It gives you all the information you need, and even has a section here where it treats itself like a comic book. Uka Uka is giving that weird look, so I don't want to know what it is out of context. Moving on to Stuart Little 2's manual, and I thought it was alright. You had some nice borders around the pages, and it tells you about the minigames so you know what to expect. Some different ways to control Stuart, and gives you all the areas you'll be visiting throughout the game. how about another thick book, but instead of 7 Cs, you have 25 Cs in Destruction Derby 2. Cool thing about it is you have a list of races you'll see, not to mention what country they live in, their height, and their age. This person looks like he had a massive hangover, and this person looks like he just smelled a stinky fart. I'm not sure what this Swedish person is thinking about. Wait, is that PewDiePie? And you have some other cool ones like the Emperor's New Groove, Spider-Man 2000, and Sheep, Dog, and Wolf, to name a few. I don't want to mention every single manual I have, otherwise we'll be here for 2 hours and I don't know how my heart can take it. So let's move on to the PlayStation 2 side of things. The PS1 era was where I started playing video games, but the PlayStation 2 era is where my passion for gaming kicks into a new drive. And speaking of driving, man, there's a lot of vehicle levels in Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex, and I will not stop complaining about it till the day I die. But I do be liking this manual though. Again, it gives you everything you need. But this also gives me the opportunity to mention that some video game manuals advertise other video games coming out soon. So, Wrath of Cortex hyped up a new Spyro game coming out in 2002 called Spyro Enter the Goddamn Piece of Frickin' Shite Dragonfly. Even to this day, I still have nightmares about it. But that game also hyped up another video game called Crash Nitro Kart. As a kid, this was helpful information to me, as I still liked Crash Bandicoot games no matter what kind, and if it wasn't for Enter the Dragonfly, I would have never played Crash Nitro Kart, so I should give credit where credit is due. Well done! But Crash and Spyro weren't the only two that advertised games together. Both Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank helped advertise each other to reach out to more audiences. I always liked Jak 2 and 3's manual, and that's due to Daxter's comedy in this book. He gives out his 2 cents on pretty much any topic that's been said on here. And as for Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando is probably my favourite manual as the colour palettes work nicely together. You learn about some weapons, but not everything, so you have to play the game in order to find out the rest, and you get a little Thugs for Less ad, that's pretty cool. But I will admit, while I do like manuals, not every single one of them is perfect by any means. Take D-Unit Drift Racing for example. When you look inside, there's only a few pages and that's it. Like, what the fuck? I mean, how can you screw up a manual? It's D-Unit Drift Racing for crying out loud. What could possibly be so bad about it? Oh, it's made by Phoenix Games. That explains a lot. God damn, that is so hot. Huh? Are we filming now? Oh shit! Sometimes, if you're lucky enough, you may receive a map within the game case itself to help complement the manual even further. Okay, can we stop recording now? The best examples are games that were published by Rockstar Games with their Grand Theft Autos and Red Dead Redemptions, and Bethesda Studios with their Elder Scrolls series. Of course it has nothing to do with our main topic of the video, but I just thought I included it in. And I suppose with the mentions of Rockstar and Bethesda, it's time to move over to the next generation of the PlayStation 3 era. And here is where video game manuals are slowly but surely decreasing their value, and that's due to one simple place. A place where dreams can be made and crushed within a year, and that place is called the internet. It's around this time the internet is getting super popular. YouTube and Facebook were increasing, every question we had could be easily answered just by a quick search, and many apps were created like Twitter, the most toxic place ever created, Instagram where we use photos to express ourselves and trick people into clickbaiting, and TikTok. I never understood TikTok. It's one of the most cringiest apps to use, and almost all the videos are exactly the same, so what's even the point on getting on the hype train? Video games that are underrated, part 1. Heading over to the PlayStation 1 edition, we have what the fuck? The Emperor's New Groove. Turn this shit off. Turn this shit off! And I know we're going off topic, but the internet did play a role in the video game manuals. Because all the information was online, many video game developers didn't have to put in a lot of effort into manuals. Take Adventure Time: The Secrets of the Nameless Kingdom, for example. The manual only had a couple of pages telling you the controls on how to play, and a bio about the story. Welcome to the Nameless Kingdom, a new unexplored realm in the land of... Formula 1's 2011's manual is pretty average and basic, but it doesn't have anything unique about it compared to previous manuals. And that's the trend the PlayStation 3 side unfortunately has. Family Guy, Back to the Multiverse, Mortal Kombat 9, and WWE 2K14 to name a few just have lazy written all over. But the biggest offender is the PlayStation 3 edition of Minecraft. The only pages it has are the controls and the one page that literally has nothing on it. No writing, no letters, no pictures, just a bland, boring page that makes me sick to my stomach. But don't get me wrong, there are a few good manuals still alive here, like Batman Arkham Asylum. It tells you about the combat, the gadgets you'll use, some very useful information, and I like the characters that show up in the corner, that's pretty cool. But then we check out Batman Arkham City, and it's just a big pile of... Oh hey, what's this? An exclusive code where you can play as Catwoman in Arkham City? And the expiration date is April the 18th, 2021? Oh shit. I definitely love Devil May Cry 4's manual, as it features a lot of information to you, and even has character bios and demon bios too. And plus, the front cover of the manual is super freaking awesome. Okami's one is pretty interesting. Because it's a Japanese game, the manual is filled with Japanese language, and while it might take me a while to read it, I love its art style, and it's nice to see what other manuals look like around different countries. But if I had to say what's my favorite manual on the PlayStation 3 side, and perhaps of all time, well, it might be a surprise to some people, but Fallout 3's manual is amazing. It treats itself as a survival guide more than a manual. It tells you everything you need to know, from controls to your stats, and even sections with every time you level up. It gives out what perks will be unlocked and a small bio about those perks. This just goes to show that video game manuals can be fun, creative, and awesome to look at. Moving over to the PlayStation 4 side, and this is where video game manuals have lost their reason to exist. The internet is now majorly popular, so everything you need to know is online, which means there is no reason to publish some manuals. Games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Cars 3, and Doom are just the same manual as before. Very little writing, small pages, and each one just screams out laziness. Fallout 4's manual has a survival guide like Fallout 3, so I was keen to read it at first, but inside was nothing but hyping up other video games coming out in the future, so that was pointless. And as far as Watch Dogs is concerned, at first it felt heavy, but then opening it, some codes and season passes fell out of the book, and then actually opening it, it revealed the same goddamn shit as the rest. Even most video game cases don't even have manuals, like Spider-Man Miles Morales and the Crash Bandicoot PlayStation 4 games as well. Crash Bandicoot, of all games on the PlayStation 4, doesn't have a single manual inside. Other than that, almost every video game either had some codes, some season passes, or just nothing at all. The only PlayStation 4 games I found on the collection that did have manuals were only 5. So transitioning from one video to another, welcome to WatchMojo.com, and we're looking at our picks from... I'm not doing that, fuck that. My name's Cheese and Crackers, and this is my top 5 favorite video game manuals on the PlayStation 4. I even took the time to create a little thumbnail for this little section, because I'm a very thoughtful person. So, as I leave it on to the side, let's begin with number 5, Team Sonic Racing. The first page seems pretty simple, telling you about the items you'll pick up. Let's move over to the next page. Oh, it's the same one, just with a different language. Oh well, let's check out the next page. And the next one. And yeah, you know I'm going with this. It's the same pictures as before, nothing too interesting. Number 4 is Hades, a more recent release. Even though the manual is nothing but photos of each character, at least it has a bit of charm to it, and plus, you'll get to know who will be in the game itself. Number 3 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, how fitting. The game actually has 2 manuals, which is something I haven't seen before. The first one is just talking about the hub for the main game, and the second one being a lore type of manual where you get to know the backstory and the characters and some cool things as well. Number 2 and number 1 are technically combined, believe it or not, and these games are Rugby League Live 3 and Live 4. They are straightforward and it tells you what you need to know, from the game modes to how it plays, just the basics. Say whatever you want about these games, but at least they actually have video game manuals, and I will say they are my favorite manuals on the PlayStation 4, but comparing it to what we've seen earlier, it's not saying much. So there you go, my top 5 favorite video game manuals on the PlayStation 4. I hope you enjoyed it, because I sure as hell didn't. And finally, we have the PlayStation 5 side. And yeah, the manuals do not exist here. Of course, perhaps down the line, there will be at least a couple of manuals I'll witness in the future, but time can only tell. If you want further proof of what the manuals have to offer inside the PlayStation 5 case, here's what Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks like inside. Honestly, it feels like I'm staring at an empty soul. So yeah, I hate to end things on a sour note, but that's pretty much the story of my journey with the manuals so far. Looking back, I definitely have more appreciation with manuals, and anytime I want to buy a retro game online, I first have to check if it comes with a manual. Like them or hate them, that's entirely up to you, but I always loved them for not just the art style and the creative outside the box thinking on how they stand out, but because it gave out information, and for someone who didn't do well at school at the time, it really helped me out. I just wish one day manuals can make a comeback to modern video games and many others can start to realize that they played something important to the video gaming industry. I guess we'll never know until we actually see it in person, so I'll end it off with this quote. You can't judge a manual by its cover. But anyways, thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, the links will be down in the description box below. My name is Cheese and Crackers, telling you to keep calm and keep playing video games.